Hey there, welcome to day 131 of playing chess until I reach 1500 Elo. Currently we're at 1296 after a win in our last game, and let's go ahead and jump into another 15-minute rapid game here today. And let's see, okay, we're up against, and we got black. Starts with d4, so I'm gonna play d5, and let's see which opening he goes for. Maybe a London. Okay, I've never seen that before. No clue what this is. Well, can't support the pawn. Just put the knight here. If he wants to trade the bishop off, that should be perfectly fine. Yeah, let's just develop the knight, because that's what I would typically do pretty early on anyway. And then just try to go for like normal development here. Maybe bring the bishop out. Connect the pawn here with e6. Break the pin. Now the bishop often does, for white, come here anyway to pin the knight in a lot of different setups. So maybe this is a good move. Maybe it just will kind of give him that, remove any extra tempo moves of having to come out. Okay. Like if he developed here and then later on I develop the knight and push the pawn and then he comes here to pin it, so it's an extra tempo. So maybe it's a good move for him, but I don't know. It's kind of weird. Never seen it before. So yeah, let's just go ahead and bring the bishop out. If he does hit the bishop, we just connect the pawns. If he hits it with the queen. Because I do like to get the bishop outside the pawn chain when I can. Another thing I'm noticing, I don't know if this would ever turn into anything. Okay, here I think I will probably just push the pawn, have him go back. Otherwise I'd bring the knight. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Push the pawn. We have this check, he's able to defend. And, okay, he goes back that way. Whenever this bishop gets attacked, I just trade it off when I'm black. In basically all the different openings I play, I think I tend to just trade this bishop off if he gets attacked. Because it's my bad bishop. Since I have pawns on all the light squares. Okay, he takes with the queen. I think just connecting the pawns here makes sense. And then we'll look to break the pin here. And we might play queen b6 to attack this. His bishop can't defend it, so pushes it or defends it with the queen would be what I would expect. Okay. Alright, sorry about that. Had to do something real quick. What was his last move here? Okay, he brings this knight out, knight c6. Or no, not c6, knight f3. And I'm just going to go ahead and break the pin here. What I wanted to play. I want a castle. Just have to make sure there's no danger with the queen looking over here. Probably will develop my knight first. I have two options. I could push here, but then if he takes, I take. I guess it's still fine, but then I have to make an extra move to go back to break the pin again. I could also go queen here and then try to go here, and then that frees up the c6 square for my knight to develop. Because I do tend to like putting the knight on c6 here as opposed to d7. And taking up more space with the pawns. Oh yeah, he's the exact same rating as me. We're both 1296. Just noticed that. It's taking a little while to think here. Okay, he trades. We're just gonna take back. Kind of surprised he immediately trades off for the knight there. The bishop is a little bit bad looking at these pawns here, but I can easily reroute it. Let's see. What's his knight trying to do here? I actually don't know what the knight is doing, because both of these squares are covered by pawns. So I'm not sure I understand the point of putting your knight on the edge here when you can't even hop to these two squares. So I think I will just keep my pawns here and let the knight just remain kind of pointless. Could hit this right away. If he blocks it, we take. That seems like it's totally fine for him. I think I'm just gonna... Let's develop the knight first and then castle. Okay, he's going for a pawn break. I think I don't have a problem with that. Could go here, take back with the knight, potentially, because the knight is not on a great square right now. He needs to reroute, so this could be an option. Yeah, I guess that's his idea, is to go for this, but once I go here, his knight will have this square. Then I have check. He has to go back. I think I'm just going to put my rook on the open file, because I know I want to play that anyway, and then if I take back, we immediately get the file. That seems pretty useful. Take back this way. Okay, I don't know what just happened, but my camera was like completely freaking out. Yeah, my camera was like spazzing out. I think it's good now. I think it's fixed. Alright, we take the pawn back. Yeah, I'm not sure if that'll show up in the video, but my camera had like weird lines going through on the display. But yeah, I think it's all good. Okay, so we have this check once he plays. I keep having to use a bunch of time because of I have to go like do something else. It just took me a minute to figure out whatever was up with the camera. So we're both at the same time, but I feel like he's thinking a lot longer for most moves right now. We have this nice open file. Bishop's not doing too much looking at these pawns, but I think we can reroute it if needed pretty easily. It could go here, hit the knight, but that's kind of pointless, I think. And the knight could hop here. Okay, he's pushing a pawn right away. The knight could hop here, but he doesn't do too much. I guess here he's preventing the check from happening. I'm considering just playing a6 here to prevent his knight from ever hopping in. I guess if he pushes, maybe it will still be able to hop in, I'm not sure. I played that. Let's probably just castle. If he pushes the pawn again, I have the check. I can't take the pawn. The knight is also only defended by the queen now, so potentially the queen could become overloaded. Can I do anything with the open file? I don't think so yet. We go here and threaten coming in. Take that, he moves. We take that maybe, but I don't want to give up the queen for that. So let's just castle. I like that we have this diagonal with the bishop looking at the rook, but I don't see any way that that would actually be utilized. Unless it kind of only gives me an advantage here because the pawn is pinned, but this other pawn is already guarding this square anyway. So, yeah, doesn't really do anything at the moment. Could also just drop back and hit this pawn. I think I will play a6 and maybe play b5 if I can after. Because then we lock up this pawn and it can become a target because his knight is preventing the other pawn from guarding it. Also, my knight's pretty bad. I want to reroute it. Here, the knight just takes. And then he gets rid of his bad knight. Yeah, let's go ahead and play a6 for now. And I think trying to double up the rooks on the open file is just a good general plan. So, might go for that. Okay, his knight does just hop back. He's guarding it, and he's guarding it with the knight, and he can push the pawn now, so this pawn will not be a target. But yeah, I think knight here and here looks good now. That looks like a nice square, even though it does block the file, but I could decide when I want to reopen the file. So I could maybe even look for sacrificing or something if I create a lot of pressure on the file. I think I like the idea. Otherwise, I would move the bishop and then the knight goes this way. That also seems decent. Either way, I don't like the bishop here, so maybe I'll start with just moving the bishop down. We have tempo on the pawn. And then I have the decision to potentially move the knight here. Maybe I will do that. Because this is a little bit more awkward. And it does block the file if I put it here on c4. So, my opponent says, hello YouTube, so I've never had that happen, but yeah, he's saying hello to the viewers. I guess because I have YouTube YT in my name, so yeah, people know. Sammy G Funk. Alright, let's see what he goes for here. Also, yeah, I could potentially see a tactic here with the queen being overloaded. If I could do something to move the queen and then take the knight, but I don't see anything right now, but the knight is just sitting there with the queen as the only defender, so. Could also immediately just attack it with the queen. I guess this move doesn't really have tempo because he is already guarding, but yeah, okay. Guards that way. I think I want to go ahead and play this. It just seems like a good move in general. If he does push, take. I think don't know what I'm doing with arrows. No, he takes, I take. I think I'm fine with this file opening. Needed. I'm gonna move the knight first. Everything is a little too crammed. And actually I'm not totally sure if I want to do this and then have the file open. Because I do have the one open file, I have control over it for now. So yeah, if I can keep my monopoly on the open files and not create a new one with his rook there, then that might be a little bit advantageous. This seems like a nice square. Oh, he said he just subscribed. Cool. But yeah, this seems like a nice square, but it's not an outpost because it can still be kicked by this pawn if his knight moves. So this one is nice in that it's an actual outpost. Okay, his knight hops in. I guess I wasn't really looking at this. I don't know if it... Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Like, I can move my knight and then kick his knight. It does seem like an annoying place for the knight to be. I think I'll just try to double the rooks up. I could also just go back and just try to trade the knight off right away. Because this knight seems like it could be annoying. And then if I go here, he can immediately kick my knight, whereas it, you know, I can't kick his until I move first, and then he kicks my knight, and then, like, it'll take a couple moves before I could actually kick his. So I'm considering just going right back to challenge his knight here. Otherwise I go here, he puts a rook here. I don't really want my queen to be under fire once the knight moves, so I think I'd rather double with the rooks and not put the queen there. And I think I will challenge his knight, because I feel like his knight is pretty strong there, and mine doesn't feel quite as strong here. So let's just try to get rid of his knight. And if he lets me take, then his pawns become a little bit messed up. Thinking for a while about whether he wants to take, I guess, or maybe if there's something else. I don't think there's any type of weird sacrifices or forks. I think his two options are taking, or maybe pushing this pawn also to defend, and then he can potentially take back this way. Doesn't mess up his pawns as much, because the only weak pawn then is going to be this one, which is hard to access. The one on, what's this, e3? And it will open his rook up as well, so I think that might be a likely move he could play. No, he just goes back, actually. Interesting. So we're kind of just bouncing the knights back and forth at this point. I think I'm going to go ahead and try to double the rooks. Maybe queen here first. Or maybe just knight goes this way, and then I double, and then I decide when I want to move the knight. Here. I can always move the queen over this way. Everything does feel pretty cramped still, though. Could also push this to prevent him from coming back to here. Could do queen here just to get the queen out of the way. Double the rooks, and then... Now I want to be able to stack the queen at the bottom if I need to. Maybe a rook to here, actually. Rook to here, queen can come here. Or stack it in the middle, maybe. Alright, let's go rook here first, because this move I want to make regardless, I think. If he hits it with the knight, then we just take the knight. He could come here to threaten mate, but then I'll just hop the knight back to guard mate. Actually, no, I can just take if he goes there. Yeah, never mind. So I want a triple stack here. I want rook here, queen here, rook in the front. And then he might start having to, unless he moves this knight out of the way, he might start having to put rooks on the side to guard it laterally, which tends to be not very strong. It's a lot more powerful to have the rooks lined up on the files rather than like defensively playing from the side. So if you can force that to happen, it tends to be really strong positionally. He could just preemptively go ahead and guard it with a rook again. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. That's what he does. I think I'll just go here right away. Then I also have the option of bringing the bishop here, attacking this, maybe try to get rid of the knight. Alright, double up. He does have two defenders. He can also defend with the knight this way. But right now the knight is pinned because I have two attackers on the rook, so we do have pressure already here. We can't just freely move the knight away. Maybe if I am able to force his knight back to defend, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that. But then I could go back here and try to get my knight in a really good square. Maybe here. But still, I don't really want to block the file, even though this is kind of a nice outpost. It's always a little tricky to decide if you have a nice outpost like that, but it's your only open file, if you do want to block it. I think from my experience with the engine, it tends to encourage keeping it open, rather than just using it as an outpost. Because even though the outpost is beneficial, you get more benefit from just having the file open and controlling it. He's using up a good amount of his time here. Down at 5.5 minutes. We're preparing to triple stack here. Not sure what he'll play. He could go here. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And then prepare to stack the rook sideways. But again, that tends to not be the best. Let's go ahead and play the triple stack. Guard this way, but he has to guard. And no matter what, the knight's still pinned to this rook. Otherwise, yeah, otherwise he's in trouble. So, can we add more pressure? To add pressure, I would need my knight. My bishop can't add pressure because it's on a light square. So I would need my knight to somehow be here. But the queen would be able to just take this. So I don't think it's possible. But we still have restricted his position a lot. So now we have to think about what else we can do. I can move the queen because I still have the double. Honestly, no matter what, even if I only had one rook here, I would still be able to have him pinned because I could take if his knight moved with check, and I guess he could block it so it's not mate, but pin is pretty strong. Considering going here to try to open this up, bring the queen over this way, maybe make room for the knight to come in. Maybe use the bishop to attack. Other than that, I'm not sure what else to go for. Yeah, let's try to go for that. If he pushes the pawn, I'll probably go here. Yeah. Maybe he'll push the pawn, but yeah, I think this square seems pretty solid. We're supported by this pawn. And we're threatening to just take and win this pawn because his knight can't capture. So either he takes and then I take, or he pushes, I think. Okay, he does push. So let's go ahead. Slide a rook to here. Now nothing is defending this pawn. This one he could push. I think I'll try to play this if I can to prevent his pawn from guarding the other one. And then try to attack this. Also, I'm just actually attacking. I'm just threatening to take this right now. My opponent says you should put the rating in the thumbnail or video title. Yeah. Should I do that actually? Should I put my rating from one game to the next in the thumbnail? Maybe I should. I used to put like the rating range I was in, like 1200 or whatever, but I actually removed that. So I guess let me know if you agree with what my opponent here said. Should I put the exact rating? The only thing is it kind of spoils whether I win or lose, I guess, if I put the exact rating, because you can see from one video to the next, but that's only if you're paying close attention, I guess. Okay. Let's see. As queen moves over, it's still guarding the knight. Knight's guarded 3 times. I can't take this. Oh wait, did I say I was starting to take this? That was wrong because the queen was guarding it. He is guarding this. If he pushes, I don't really like that so much. I guess I could go here. I think I want to go here. So then his queen has to go back. Yeah, and I prevent the pawn from guarding. And if he pushes, I can just take because I have 2 attackers. So, okay, let's push the pawn. Anything else? I also have this threat, but his knight is guarding it. Yeah, I think I like pushing the pawn. The pawn's guarded by the rook. Everything seems pretty secure, I think. And then we could try to find a way to attack this one. Might be kind of hard. I can attack it with my queen easily, but it might be hard to get a second attacker on it. So where's this queen going to go? He can't go here. Can't go here. He needs to guard the pawn. He needs to go back here. He needs to guard the knight and the pawn. I wonder if I could sack. Okay, no, he goes all the way back. I was wondering if I could sack the bishop, and then if queen takes, then I take here with 3 attackers. But don't need to figure that out now. Okay, can I get the knight to attack this pawn? I can't get a rook to, really, because this is controlled. I am able to just go ahead and take this, actually. That's why I thought he was going to go here, because it guards the pawn. And the knight can't... The knight cannot take. But I think I'll just take here. And we're hitting the rook, so actually it's going to be kind of tricky, I think, for him. He takes here, I take with check, take, and then we're just winning a lot of stuff, I think. But he can block the... He can block the... Wait, actually, am I? Because, wait, if I take with check here first, then he blocks, but then I just take the queen with the rook, and then he takes... Yeah, so either way we should be fine. I think we're creating a lot of pressure here. Maybe he'll have a good answer, though. Yeah. So he moves his rook, so we are able to capture here. We're winning piece, I think. Is there anything else I should be playing here? No. Because I have 3 attackers here, yeah. Don't see how he gets the bishop back. Threatening this. Doesn't have any kind of checks or anything. Okay. Go to trade down. See if he will take the queen or not. What else could he do? Guess he could go to the corner. No. Nah, yeah, he could do that. If he goes to the corner, I go here, maybe? This is guarded. Yeah, I think if he goes to the corner, he could be in trouble. Guess he could go here, but then I potentially have a discovered attack. I could sack for this pawn. Maybe? No, but then take, he takes back, so I don't think that does work. Because I don't have it with check. But we're up a lot of material, so if he does take, yeah, he does go to the corner. Do I want to go for this? Or this just forces the queen trade? Also, is there anything with this? No, there's not. Wait, here, actually no, here he moves the queen and then I take the rook, actually. And then he could take the bishop. No, I take the rook with check. And that's mate, if he moves. So, I think the queen is done for. Well, I guess he just goes back. And then we trade. But yeah. Here, 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 here. Bishop needs to come back somewhere. Bishop goes here. He can hit it. Actually, but then it is pinned to the rook. I don't want to end up losing the bishop. I think I'll just go here. Because I think either way we're going to trade. And this is a little bit of a more secure way to do it, I think. He might be able to go here after bishop moves and then win the pawn, but we're up a piece, so... Yeah, I think I'll just go this way. I almost feel like I could win here, but yeah, if he just goes back... If he goes here, we take twice, so then he loses. So, but if he goes here... I think he's okay. It's a forced move, though, so maybe... Is there any kind of tactic around it? I don't think so. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. Trade this way. It seems safer. And I think he's able to get out of that, and then it looks maybe a little bit trickier for me. I'm also hitting the pawn, but I think I would just take if he doesn't take. And his rook takes. So yeah, I think don't really see another good option for him aside from just taking. Don't know what else he would play. You could move somewhere and then I take and then you end up on that file, but you can't go to this open file because I have two attackers. Okay, his time's getting pretty low. He doesn't take, he just opens up space for his king. So I'm going to take. And I also have a forced trade after he takes here with the bishop check. So we're going to just be up a piece. And we have this pawn that we can guide straight to promotion, I think. His knight doesn't have a path to get over here easily. Actually, I guess it does, but I'll sack. Or, I mean, I'll just defend with the bishop and he'll be in trouble. Once he goes here, here, yeah, come down. Yeah, we're going to be able to get his knight as well. All he can do is come here. And he's guarding the promotion square, but I can just drop the bishop down. And then when he takes, I take the knight, so. And then we're, yep, we go. And then we're just going to chase another pawn down over here or something and then try to promote. Okay, bishop down. Now his knight is about to be gone, I believe. Although, you know, I never know, because sometimes I miss crazy moves, totally overlook them. Never know for sure. Is my camera still being weird? Yeah, I see, okay, he goes ahead and resigns. Yeah, I think he knew. Oh, he asked for a rematch, but I don't have enough time to play another. I'm just going to message him. I'll send him a friend request because he wants to rematch we can play later. That was a good game. Alright, send him a friend request. And let's go ahead and check the game review. I think I played, I want to say my accuracy is going to be pretty good. I don't think I made any tactical blunders or anything unless we both missed them. Let's go ahead and check. But yeah, that also brought me back up to 1304. So that's cool. And yeah, we both had good accuracy. I had 89.8, he had 81.4. I did have 4 inaccuracies, but no mistakes, misses, or blunders. He had 3 mistakes and 1 inaccuracy. So that's all the game came down to, I guess, was just a few inaccuracies or a few mistakes that he had made, I guess. I'm not sure where exactly. I think allowing himself to get in that pin, he should have moved his knight away earlier to prevent that pin from happening, I think. Let's go through the moves here. Oh, I accidentally jumped to the end. Okay, here we go. Yeah, this was very strange opening. I have no clue what this is called. It looks like we played the book, like one of the book moves here by just developing the knight. Bishop out was fine. It wanted c5 though, but yeah, we're still fine. Okay, this was fine. Prefers the knight to develop here to block, but I never play that way because I always like to just get the bishop away rather than put the knight on a worse square. Because I want it to go here. I want it to go to c6. Put it on a worse square and like pin it and keep the bishop there. I always try to avoid that generally. So yeah, we're still fine here. We trade. This was good. I don't exactly know why he traded that, but I guess my bishop was kind of not doing much for a while because it's just looking at this pawn chain. But to me, it seemed like better to maintain that pressure there. I guess it's not much pressure, but it kind of forces my bishop to remain here though. Because if my bishop ever moves, or my queen, I guess my bishop or my queen have to be here, but it ties my pieces down slightly to the knight because I really don't want to be taking back with the g-pawn and opening up my king where I want a castle. Okay, going for the pawn break was good. Rook back here was fine. This was his mistake. This was the first mistake. Now I have a 1.5 advantage. Oh, my camera's being really messed up again. Alright, yeah, sorry for the camera being weird. I'm not sure what the deal with that is. Hopefully it's not completely broken. I'm just going to continue the game review despite the camera glitching out, and I'll try to figure this out after, unless it completely turns off. Yeah, sorry if that's like distracting. It looks terrible. But we're just doing the last part of the game review, so. Okay, it wants the bishop to immediately hit the pawn. Oh yeah, and then he's still just going to guard it with a rook though, so it's not that much of a threat. But I guess since he can't push the pawn to guard it, it's kind of nice. But that was just an inaccuracy. So yeah, that was one of my inaccuracies. This was good, but it did want the queen to go to b6 right away. I guess if queen b6, bishop here. But he's still going to have so many ways, I think, to guard the pawn. The knight, the queen, the rook. So I don't think I'm going to be just winning the pawn from this little bit of pressure. My focus was more to kind of put a little bit of pressure on the pawn as a distraction and then really to just take control of the file, which we were able to do. This was inaccurate. It did want me to just hop here. I mean, these are minor inaccuracies, I think, but I guess kicking me does create some weaknesses, but it just seemed okay. And then interesting, it wants the rook to come straight here. That's not something I would have been looking at. We use the knight, even though it's under threat, to attack the queen, the pawn, this pawn. And where does his queen go? Back to here. But then my knight still has to hop back. But we gain this great initiative with the rook. Okay, that's kind of cool. So that's why that was inaccurate, because it wanted me to play for that, but I did not see that at all. And then this was a mistake, actually, yeah. Because it allowed me to pin the knight to the rook, which the rook never had 2 defenders. It only ever had 1 defender here. And I was able to immediately put a second attacker. So then from that point on, the knight was... I mean, we're equal material, but I have a minus 2.5 advantage. So I think the knight is essentially, if I play the right moves, it's gone at this point. Which we do play the right moves, for the most part. This was inaccurate, though. It wants... Oh, yeah. why didn't I think of this actually, to just hit the queen right away. Kinda kick the queen back a bit. Again, just taking control of a lot more of his space with the rook. Didn't consider that. It wanted his pawn to take. Yeah, I think pushing was not great. For some reason, I didn't realize that I had this square available. I was placing it here where the pawn guards it, and I don't know why I kind of thought that this square was not available without thinking about it. And then we push the pawn. Again, it wants that same move, so some of my inaccuracies, it looks like, are just missing these threats of bringing the rook in to the third rank to attack and put more pressure. But then he drops back. We're able to win the bishop. We have a 4.6 advantage here. So at this point, our position is just completely dominant. And then he has to go back, and we win the knight. And then we just were able to get the trade here. It wanted him to just go ahead and trade the queen, because I don't think he had any other real option. I was able to force the trade pretty quickly, and then we forced the rook trade. And then we're able to promote and take his knight. And as soon as he realized that, he went ahead and resigned. But that was a good game, though. He played with really good accuracy as well. And yeah, he was cool also. He was writing messages. He said he subscribed, and I'm definitely going to maybe play with him again in the future if he accepts my friend request. And we're back to 1304. So yeah, this has been day 131. Thanks for watching. Sorry about the messed up camera. Hopefully I can get that fixed quickly. And I will see you guys on day 132.